Once upon a time, a friend read a story of mine and told me they loved it. Because the story was old and I'd outgrown it, I immediately said something like, "Oh, it's a bad story." I still remember my friend's hurt expression as they said, "Well, I liked it." And I realized I'd basically brushed off their support as something inconsequential. This brings me to Yuuri on Ice. Spoiler alert, by the way. Yuuri on Ice is a show about love, which makes sense, of course, considering it's a romance. It's one of my favorite animes. I can watch it over and over again. It's always there for me on a bad day, and I love almost everything about it. Yuuri on Ice is a sports anime and a love story featuring Japanese figure skater 23-year-old Yuuri Katsuki. After a terrible figure skating season following a mortifying defeat at the Grand Prix final, Yuuri returns to Japan. Yuuri is a big fan of Viktor Nikiforov, the Russian figure skating legend, and as a way to soothe himself after his defeat, Yuuri goes to the ice rink and practices one of Viktor's figure skating routines. Unbeknownst to him, he's being filmed, and the video goes viral. This catches Viktor's attention. He follows Yuuri to Japan, promising to coach Yuuri for the next Grand Prix final, and of course, the two fall in love. Love is at the heart of this show. Not just romantic love, which is kinda obvious, but rather self-love. It's an extremely sweet story, perfect for a rainy day. A lot has been said about the queer representation in the show. I adore the way they told the story, but the romance between the two leads isn't what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about Yuuri himself, the show's protagonist and my favorite character. Yuuri is extremely hard on himself, to the point where one could argue he's not a reliable narrator. He calls himself a dime a dozen top figure skater certified by the JSF, which already sounds like a contradiction. I mean, how many people become national level athletes? You can't entirely trust the way he sees himself or the world around him. He's quick to criticize himself while at the same time putting Viktor on a pedestal. He admires his competitors, which is very sporting, but at the cost of himself. At the same time, Yuuri has an edge to his personality that comes out thanks to his own determination to win and Viktor's training. He is an understated character when compared to Viktor or his main rival in the show, Yuuri Plisetsky. Yes, there are two Yuris in the show and they are rivals. But he's a wonderful point of view character for the audience to sympathize with and learn from. He is, in my opinion, the most compelling character of the show. In the start, Yuuri has terrible self-confidence. He routinely writes himself off and doesn't really try to defend himself when Yuuri Plisetsky, aka Yurio, bullies him. We do, however, see a little bit of his bolder side peek through in fits and bursts. There is a lot we can glean about self-love from a character like Yuuri. At his heart of hearts, he's not a great talent. He's no prodigy like Viktor or Yurio. He hasn't had it easy. He has faced defeat after crushing defeat, and across the 12-episode run of the show, Yuuri's grief over his dog's death, one of the main reasons he blew the original Grand Prix final in the first place, looms large. His family is supportive of his dreams but doesn't really understand them. Yuuri also struggles to recognize their support and tends to feel like he's fighting alone. One of the things that I don't see talked about enough is how Yuri's perception of himself impacts other people. Throughout the course of the show, Yuri's self-critical talk hurts his family, though this is never brought up again and I feel like it should have been. It also hurts the people who support him. In the first few minutes of the first episode, a fan approaches him to shake hands. Yuuri, upset at himself and feeling worthless, refuses to engage until his ballet teacher, Minako-sensei, intervenes. One of the most revealing moments in the show, and one that I feel is glossed over far too often, is his interaction with a fellow competitor, Minami Kenjiro. Kenjiro is a big fan of Yuri's. He even wears a costume referencing one of Yuri's past performances. Yuuri does not react well. And what Minami says in response is pretty eye-opening.
ユーリ君に黒歴史なんか一個もなかです。ずっと憧れて追いかけてきたおいの言葉バカにせんでください。明日のフリーおいは全力で滑り切ります。ユーリ君も全力で勝負してください。手抜いたら承知せんぞ。
Kenjiro's response is basically like, hey, don't make fun of me for looking up to you. And when you think about it, that's incredibly insightful. It actually kind of reminded me of this scene from Shrek. Yes, Shrek.
I mean, really? Who could ever love a beast so hideous and ugly? Princess and ugly don't go together. That's why I can't stay here with Shrek.
By criticizing his past, Yuuri inadvertently criticizes Minami's ambition of being just like him, of using Yuuri as a benchmark. It's like saying, you're stupid for looking up to me. If I'm your role model, you're going to fail. We often don't realize that our self-criticism hurts other people. We may think we're only hurting ourselves, but in truth, we're also neglecting the people who love and support us. We're rejecting their love. And that can be sort of, unkind. Later in that same episode, Yuuri tells the press that though he knows he has been supported, he always felt alone.
今までのスケート人生、いろんな人に助けられながらやってきましたが、愛について考えたことは一度もありませんでした。恵まれた環境にいながらそれを生かしきれず、一人で戦っているような気持ちでずっといました。僕の愛、それは分かりやすい愛や恋ではなくて、ビクトルとの絆や家族や地元に対する微妙な気持ち。ようやく自分の周りにある愛のようなものに気づくことができました。
俺たち
微妙だったんだ。ずっと応援してきたのに。
This scene is so interesting to me because it acknowledges that Yuuri has been ignoring the support he's getting. He's so wrapped up in his own issues that he doesn't notice the love surrounding him. His family even comments on it. All this time we were supporting him and we're only abstract. As the story progresses, Yuri's self-confidence improves, and as it does, he's able to stabilize his relationships, particularly with Yurio. Instead of being intimidated by him, Yuuri ends the series by cheering him on. It just goes on to show that the way we see ourselves impacts all our relationships. Who would we be if we accepted the love around us with more grace? Who would we be if we actually worked on accepting a compliment without trying to prove we don't deserve it? Who would we be if we were a little kinder to ourselves, and how would that make our friends feel? Many stories deal with self-love, and it's a major theme in Yuuri on Ice. But I have not often seen stories delving into the social aspect of it. Yuuri on Ice will always be a favorite of mine. Whether we'll get to see Yuuri in the Yuuri on Ice movie following the show's success is almost irrelevant to me. Of course, I'd love to see more of these wonderful characters, but as far as I'm concerned, the show has already told the story it had to tell, and it's done an excellent job. Thanks so much for watching this video. I'd like to make more of these, so if you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you soon.